Welcome to the Workforce Connections podcast, where we discuss workforce development in Southern Nevada. Here's your host.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the WC podcast. Today, I'm very happy that we welcome a very special guest. Somebody who's going to talk to us about a very iconic place in Las Vegas. Please welcome my friend, Amanda Signorelli, co-owner of the Golden Steer Steakhouse and my fellow Vegas Chamber Trustee. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
It's always good to see you because you never stop smiling.
I try. There's so much to celebrate. You got to keep going.
That is so good. And you make people around you smile too. So for those of you who don't know you, we're going to talk about Golden Steer soon. But first, your story. Tell us about where you were born, where you grew up, went to school. Take us all the way to your first job, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was born and raised in fabulous Las Vegas, which I'm very, very proud of. And I actually went to the Meadows School when Miss Carolyn Goodman was my headmistress there. Wow. So I learned a lot from her. She was always an icon, even then as a headmistress, was a really fun woman to learn from and really appreciate what a Vegas legacy meant. And then I left the city of Las Vegas to go out to St. Louis, which at the time I thought was crazy. I learned a lot about snow very quickly. And I went to Washington University in St. Louis. And I actually double majored in international business and in marketing. And then I double minored in French and Arabic, thinking I'd have a real shot at becoming a spy. Did not work out, but I did try. And I had a great time. And when I was there, I said, okay, I love languages. I love being able to travel. And I like being able to learn what it takes to do business in multiple different cultures. And so I had a wonderful opportunity for my first job, which was working for McKinsey Company. So I went and I was a business analyst for them for about 2 years and worked both in New York, worked in London, worked in Munich, went all over the world.
Wow, that's a lot. And did you know Mary Beth grew up near Missouri, St. Louis, Missouri?
Yes, we have bonded over our love for ooey gooey butter cake. Yeah. I love desserts a little bit more than Mary Beth, but we have talked St. Louis, and it's kind of fun for us.
Yeah, and I went to visit her high school because I've had some friends there in the what's called the Mark Twain Forest area. Oh, beautiful area with four seasons and the leaves. And my friend had ATVs, and so I told her, I said, man, where you grew up must have been a really fun childhood. And she said, yeah. I said, fishing, hiking, all these beautiful things in that area. So, and when did you come back here then?
I didn't actually come back until December 2018.
Oh, so just recently, 6 years ago.
Yes.
So fill that story for us on the gap. Where did you, professionally, what brought you back to Vegas or life? What brought you back? And then what is that? Complete that journey to now being co-owner of the Golden Steer. Yeah,
so it was really exciting for me. I loved my time at McKinsey. It was a great opportunity to build a toolkit, understand problem solving, financial modeling, data and analytics. That was really helpful and formative for me. I left and then went and joined a startup, which was called Tech Week. And I was actually a junior sales rep doing cold calls. So I was literally just hitting the phones and selling $300 hiring fair booths, trying to sell as many as I could, eventually close some big contracts. And then a year later, ended up becoming the CEO of that company. And I ran that for the board for about 3 years, which was an amazing experience for me. And it actually had quite a bit to do also with media, but also economic development. How do we work with different cities outside Silicon Valley to bring in major tech companies and spur both innovation, but also job creation. So that was a really wonderful experience that I was very grateful for. And then I left to go start another company, which was called Inhabitor in the rental furniture space with a partner that I had met at McKinsey. And while I was out there and I was closing around a financing with them, I got a call from my father and he said, hey, I need some help. And I'm like, oh, okay, what do you need? I'm always happy to. Like, what's going on? He says, do you remember the Golden Steer? I'm like, yeah, I grew up with it, but it wasn't necessarily all in everything that we focused on in my child. My father had been an investor in several different businesses, and his background was predominantly casinos. And he said, of course, I remember the Golden Steer. I learned that I wasn't supposed to eat my steaks well done from Banco back in the day. What do you need? And he said, well, I'm at the point now where I'm the last partner standing, and I can't operate this by myself. I need you to come out. And I was so surprised because I was off and doing my thing in Chicago, didn't really know anything. Well, let's admit it, I can't cook. So that didn't help either. I was like, oh my goodness, I don't know anything about restaurants, but we'll jump in and figure it out. And he says, it's okay. You understand a P&L, you know numbers, figure it out. So immediately I said, okay, let's do it. I was fortunate enough to, as I like to joke, bait and switch my husband. So we literally got married, moved to Vegas, and took over the restaurant in 6 months.
Did he know about kitchens?
Fortunately, he's actually a software engineer by training, but he also went to culinary school.
Wow.
So he knows what he's doing in a kitchen, thankfully. And the two of us said, we're going to do it together. And frankly, when we first did it, we only anticipated to be doing it for about a year to help my father out, set up some systems, get everything in a good place. And our 1 year mark on the dot was March 17th, 2020.
Oh, wow.
So we had 1 year to figure out the restaurant and then boom, closed for COVID.
How long did Golden Steer stay closed?
So we closed March 17th to June 12th. And so we were completely shut down during that time.
Almost
it ended
3
up
months.
it ended up being a time that I don't think we anticipated, but was probably the most formative and helpful for us for beginning to launch a couple new businesses underneath the brand, change the direction. We actually took out a line of credit to start investing in our wine program. So for us, it actually ended up being quite a period of investment, even though we were closed.
Wow. Yeah. And, I always think about, I know that the employees got help for a while from the government, and then, you guys had to reopen. But again, you as business owners faced that whole, period, like many business owners, that how do you keep things, alive? How do you pay loans? And how do you keep, all these things going? And I can tell now, too, more. This is part of what I love about this podcast, that I get to discover more things about people I thought I knew. And so you do have a really rich toolbox that now I know why you're so successful at this one, because you did all that other stuff that you just said, and also your husband being a software engineer. And so you brought more than just knowing what to do in a kitchen to this particular experience. Your dad was lucky. So now that we're there in COVID, obviously it was a slow recovery, but obviously you made it through it, because now you can't get into the Golden Steer for like 6 months. So what was the secret to go from the worst of times to now back to the best of times?
Yeah, I think for us, to your point, our nature and where we really got our start professionally was in startups. And because of that, if there's one thing you learn in a startup, it's better to get it out there than make it perfect. This real spirit of experimentation, and we've kept that with us. We're really big on what's the point of red tape? Let's just go, let's just try, let's just do, let's see what happens. And if you have a hypothesis, then go try it. And so that's worked out really well for us, and that there's not very much that we won't try. And because of it, it gave us a chance to really think about what to do with the brand. Because to be honest, when we first got involved, we were so cautious and scared. We were like, don't rock the boat. The Golden Steer brand is so precious. The Golden Steer business is so precious. It all has to be the same. And then when COVID came, we're like, okay, we got to try anything because you got to survive. So now what are we going to do? And so that became a whole nother round of trying things. At one point, we had tried to do a pop-up. We were going to do like a mini drive-through. That did not work. We tried to do some like picnic style experiences. That didn't work. But then things that did work ended up really being us focusing on the storytelling aspect. I think an example of kind of how that manifested on the numbers is that when we first took over the business, we only had one real channel, which was Instagram, and it was about 5,000 strong in terms of our follower count. Today, we're sitting at over 500,000. And then across all of our channels, we're sitting at 1.5 million followers. And an average video for us on Facebook ends up coming out about 30 million views. We have about 300 million impressions of hashtag Golden Steer on TikTok. And we're one of the most viral restaurants in America. That only happened because we kept saying, let's just try and let's just play. And that was very exciting for us. And it's been what's really driven a lot of that demand and interest in organic pieces when it comes to the Golden Steer. So that compared and really compounded also with what we've did on the e-commerce side, where we spun up this whole other line of business because we had this fear of what if COVID is not a 2-year, 3-year, 5-year, but a 10-year thing. And if that's the case, what are we doing to make money outside the 4 walls of the business? And so that's when we began selling steaks and seasonings online across the
That's right. I got those emails.
Yes.
I got those emails. And I thought about you too when I'm, on my dead time, when I'm watching Instagram, Facebook videos, storylines. One day, now many times, but the first time it popped up, like you said, a video of a random person that was talking about the Golden Steer, and they had like the 8 or 10 lobster tails, and they were pouring the butter. Yeah. And I was like, oh, yeah, I know them. I've had that lobster. And I was thinking about you because, again, this is outside of you. You didn't have to make that effort. Somebody did that, and it got tons of views. So what you've created really has a power of its own now. The flywheel is kind of spinning without you having to give it as much power. More people have bought into it and are excited about it and post about it. So yeah. I never told you that, but yeah, that video was really, and they did a good job because they They made it look succulent and delicious. And they said, when you're in Vegas, you make sure you go. Now, call ahead because you can't get in. So let's talk a little bit about the iconic meaning of this restaurant, because those of us have been there. You walk in and you can almost sense the history, right? There's visual clues also there, names on booths of who sat there. There's photos. I love that you guys, while you've expanded, you've really also respected the past, honor the past, but at the same time makes it feel also it has nothing to envy a modern steakhouse. And so there's a great balance that you were able to strike there. But you lived it, you grew up with it. So give us the inside view of the historical significance of this little restaurant. Because again, you can drive by and, if you miss the cow or the steer, you're past it. I always tell, no, it's here and there. I've never seen it. So it's not like you have this big flashing sign, but it's an iconic place. I'd love to hear from you, who I can just picture you as a little girl, it was part of your life. Tell us about what the historical significance is.
Yeah, I like to say that the Golden Steer is more than a restaurant. It really is a time capsule of old Las Vegas. And that's something that we take a lot of pride in. Nick and I, my husband and my business partner, we often say that we are the stewards of the Golden Steer, because we hope that if we've done our job right, it will outlive us. And that's because it has so much richness and identity and history to it in its own regards. And if you think about that history, when it first started, it opened in 1958 really as a mom and pop restaurant. And then it became the go-to place for regular haunts with a lot of these iconic celebrities, infamous and famous. You had folks like Frank Sinatra, Tony Spilotro, Marilyn Monroe, these wonderful business leaders as well, who were part of the Vegas fabric of community to build it. And they went in, and this is where they went. Muhammad Ali after his fights, et cetera. All these amazing stories that really came together. And so it went from being just a place to have dinner to being a part of a story that spans decades. And there's something really special and eerie about that, to imagine that the walls, the booths, and all of those pieces encapsulate it. And it's all been very organic. So even something that I love to tell people is the reason we started naming and doing the booths was because of Sammy Davis Jr. Sammy Davis Jr. at the time, Las Vegas was incredibly segregated. And so he was not welcome anywhere on the Las Vegas Strip to dine. And the Golden Steer thought that was ridiculous. And so we said to him, we want you to know you will always have a place in the main dining room wherever you want that's reserved for you. And so we gave him that booth, and we called it Sammy Davis Jr.'s booth. Wow. And then the next thing you know, the rest of the Rat Pack came to support and just started following along. And then it became the hangout, and we started, everybody said, well, I want my own booth too. And it just kind of followed from there. But that was something that was really organic and done from the heart and the nature of the business.
Now, you mentioned Tony Spilotro. I'm sure Oscar Goodman was there those times too, right?
All the time. He has his booth. The Goodmans have theirs. They were there all the time, especially when they were representing their clients. We like to say that the Golden Steer, one of the reasons we had so many mobsters back then was because we were what was considered neutral territory. You could be on the Las Vegas Strip without being inside a casino that was owned by the mob, so you didn't have to worry about supporting one of the other families.
That's cool. Of all your younger years there, but now as the owner as well, does one memory stand out to you of whether a guest like the ones you've mentioned, an interaction, or just any story, a proposal, something that stands out to you as something that would be special? Yeah.
So for me, I always love the stories of patrons that share their lifetime journey with us as well. So there's people and folks I've met who have literally said, "Oh, I came here for a prom. And then I came back to celebrate a wedding. And then I came back to celebrate an anniversary. And then I came back to celebrate a communion for my little one." Wow. And to hear that full life journey with us in those decades is really special and unique. And that always means a lot to me. And so I always ask people, when did you come in and what was it for? Because being a part of those key moments in life is really rich and special and is an honor. And it means a lot. One memory that is a little bit more recent, but I think is really impactful for me, mostly because I didn't see it coming. It was so shocking, is we recently had in at the top of the year, the CEO of NVIDIA, Jensen Huang. And for me, obviously, he's a phenomenal tech CEO. It's one of the most valuable companies. So I was really nervous. I'm like, oh my goodness, here's this incredible business leader. And I really want to make sure everything's perfect. And I want to make sure we do a great presentation. And I was nervous. I was super nervous. And what blew my mind was He came in, he started walking around it was about a 60-person group that was in there. Every single person who was inside, he was pouring their wine, he was hugging them, he was checking in with them. At one point, he even grabbed another chair to sit next to each person and see how they were doing. And the warmth that he had, the generosity, the excitement, and the positivity was so overwhelming and just phenomenal for me to see in action of that humility. Because sometimes you see these amazing CEO leaders who you imagine are going to be kind of removed. And this gentleman came in, and at one point he even had some food that he was going around and serving on people's plates.
Like servant leadership, yeah.
In action at that scale was something that was really special to me and meant even more now being a leader and seeing it.
That's so cool. Thank you for sharing that story. I know, again, that I mentioned it earlier, how I feel that you guys were able to strike a real balance between honoring this rich history, but also keeping it really modern, and that has nothing to envy some of the places that just opened. So tell us again, I want to hear from you. Was there a secret recipe there on how to measure the one and the other and make sure you got to that balance? Was there something that you were always thinking about to make sure you met that?
Yeah, we talk a lot about balancing tradition and modern innovation. And we like to say, the way that we've kind of coined our term is old school on the front, new school on the back. And so it's very important for us to always question if we're following that framework. So when we say old school in the front, you're not going to get QR code menus. It's not going to happen. I welcome all those folks to enjoy that. Right. It's not going to be the Golden Steer.
I like the big, heavy. Yeah.
You're not going to be ordering from an iPad. There's not going to be a robot coming around. It's going to be old school, classic the hospitality. Best. Yes, tuxedos, all the nines.
I love it.
But on the back end, that's where we have more opportunities to innovate and experiment with technology and play. Because what we've also really come to appreciate is the beauty and the magic of the Golden Steer is on the hospitality. And that comes from people, not from machines. Yeah. And so it's really important for us to think about all the things that take for us to streamline the business and track the KPIs and measure the efficiencies and do all these things and automate workflows, et cetera, et cetera. But that can happen on the back end. That should happen seamlessly, and it shouldn't really soak up our team members' time because they should be focusing on making people happy. And that's really important. And so we use AI quite a bit inside of our business. We have everyone on Slack, which always blows people's mind. We're like, all of our servers are on Slack. We're doing all of our updates there. We have emojis and all of these automated things. And that's really fun, and it's great to see people engage. But again, those are things that are on the back. That way you don't feel it on the front. That
is very cool because, as you know, last September, I had 70 of my peers here from the U.S. Conference of Mayors Workforce Development Council, and they wanted to go to an iconic restaurant, and when they brought the Golden Steer, I was like, part of me happy because I said, well, I know that a person there, but then also stressed because I knew how hard it is to get in. But when I called you, you were nothing but, we're going to make this happen. And of course, my peers were super impressed. Your team, every member, from sales to the servers, did a great job. So I've experienced this spirit that you talk about where they really deliver on the hospitality. And again, I know it's hard to do it for 70 people, even though in one room with multiple things on the menu, it just went really, really good where, again, the guests left thinking, now this is an iconic place. And I stayed till later, till the last guest left and told your team that. So I've been around and you guys did a great job. And so, again, what you're speaking, I've seen it in action. I think also when I've gone other places and sat in the main room where the, burgundy booths are and the names, I love still how, you can see a live flambe, whether it's bananas Foster or cherry jubilee and the little, sparks and things. And I love the Caesar salad preparation because, again, it adds something that's nostalgic, I know it doesn't add any flavor, the mixing, the flavors and the food, but it's just something special about the preparation. Then somebody else came out, I think, and I saw him finish a steak Diane. I saw the carving of a dole, There's all these stuff that I said, that's cool, Now for me, I didn't get any of that because I ordered the big bone marrow thing.
Yeah, the giant dog bone. Yeah. It really is huge.
That was good, but I was like, maybe they'll carve it, but no, I had to do all the spoon thing, picking it out. But I guess I say all that to say that I love it. A lot of people obviously love it if you're booked 6 months in ahead of time. But now I really want to talk about where else is the Golden Steer going, right? Because it's been, as we've been talking about, an iconic feature of this town. But now I hear that in New York City, there's going to be a Golden Steer. So give us an update, what you can. Yeah. Tell us about where you've been, where you are there, and maybe when is the grand opening? What's happening in New York City?
Yeah, we're incredibly excited and grateful that we have an opportunity to, for the first time ever, expand the Golden Steer outside of Vegas. And for us, the big thing is all of these concepts and all of these amazing folks are always coming to town. We've never really reversed the flow as a community, and this is an opportunity to do that. And so we're really proud of that and proud of the ability to say, like, no, like, look what Vegas can do, and here is the magic of Vegas, and bring that to people and bring that joy. And I don't think there's ever been a better time than now, thanks to so much of the development of Vegas, even between Sphere, Raiders, everything that's going on, this is the time. And so we were very fortunate that we started hunting for a space at the top of last year. And we're like, okay, where are we going to go? What's going to be the right mix? And the more we thought about it, the more we realized, like, we need a space that has its own history, its own identity, and its own level of gravitas. And what does that look like, and how do we integrate it? Because something that I think is special about the Golden Steer is if you went and hired a brand firm or a marketing firm and said, like, design a great restaurant, they're never going to combine as many themes as what's going on in the Golden Steer, right? You've got like guns on the wall and Western, and then you've got Rat Pack, and then you got Showgirls, and you're like, wow, there's a lot going on. And yet it works because it is authentic. And so we said, all right, we need another space where the same way that the Golden Steer has absorbed the history from the patrons, and that's become its identity, we can put the Vegas filter on another round of history that we can also absorb. And so we started hunting, and we had this great opportunity to find the space that's called 1/5. So that's our address. That's the name of the space. It's been a hospitality or restaurant actually since the 1920s.
Fifth Avenue.
Yep, right on 5th. First block, right there. It's literally a block north of Washington Square Park.
Wow.
Yeah. And Anthony Bourdain had been a chef in there. Keith McNally had a background there. You've got David Bowie, who used to go in there, Anna Wintour. Like, there's been just this eclectic group of people that have stood the test of time. SNL used to do all of their Halloween parties there. There's some really wild photos. And so there's enough there of an identity and richness that we can take that and absorb it and say, okay, yes, we're Vegas, but it's also important to do right and respect the traditions and the history and the identity of New York. So let's absorb that. And so that's what we're doing. We're hoping to open in pretty much really fall. So we're like sprinting towards it. I picked up the keys like 2 weeks ago, and we're really excited, but that's what we're looking to do.
Wow. And is it, some of the restaurants in New York are still built so where the food is delivered down a hatch, and you have a lot of prep going on, and in a room that, I don't know if it's a basement, but it's almost like below the first floor, and it's very low. Is that how this building is, or is it more modern than that?
It's not that much more modern.
Okay.
So my favorite example of this is actually the walk-ins on the basement floor are still paneled in wood.
Wow.
So that was kind of startling to walk in and be like, oh, wow, they're all wood. I didn't realize you could still get away with that. Wow. But the majority of the kitchen is on the first floor. We'll just do the carving because we actually butcher all of our meats in-house still. And so we'll bring in the bone saw and do all of that on the basement. And then the bar and everything else will still be on that first floor.
Are there, what do they call those, elevator waiters?
Dumb waiters.
Yeah.
There's a few in there. I don't imagine we'll need to use them too much because we'll probably prep during the day and use it more for like storage, et cetera, than having to worry about cooking food and going up.
Will the menu be reminiscent of the Las Vegas menu?
Yeah, the core will definitely be the same. On the outside, I'd say that 20% will flex where you'll have purveyors and suppliers that are native to that region, doing right by some of those collaborations too, finding some chefs that make sense for us to bring on like small items and again, honor that tradition. Because we're in Greenwich Village, there are so many amazing, talented folks that are really passionate about independent small businesses. So being able to work with them to bring that on the menu and support that community is really important.
That's awesome. There's that, I think about that company that Bourdain used to, Friedman or something like that, the Fridas?
Frida's, Pat Frida, the meats.
Yeah, the meats.
Yes.
So are they going to be one of your purveyors?
It's going to be interesting to see. I imagine we'll have a couple that are not the ones we use at the Golden Steer, but we have a pretty strong relationship. We've actually been using the same supplier for the beef at the Golden Steer since like the late 60s, early 70s. I think we found an invoice from 71. And we've been working with them forever. In particular, we actually have a partnership with one of our processors and suppliers who we went and visited in November. And we like them because they're actually the most humane operator in the space. They've gotten many awards for this. They're quite known.
And they have a presence in New York.
They do. They do distribute there. And so it's going to be really important for us to kind of keep that. They know our specifications. And it's important to us to know where's the beef coming from and that those animals are treated appropriately at each step.
Very cool. Well, we've talked a lot of shop about Golden Steer, and I can't wait to go to a New York City restaurant. So the next trip I plan to the East Coast, it's after the fall. I'm going to check in and make sure that if it's Washington, I'll stop by New York. But we are going to New York in July. That's too early.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just walk by the storefront, so send you a picture.
Check it out. Get a little vibe for it. It's really fun. The area is beautiful. That'll be a great time of the year. It's a perfect time to check it out.
Awesome. I will. Yeah. Let's switch to the Vegas Chamber for a while, because that's where we're seeing each other more and more now, because you're a trustee. And, the other day I was telling you, you always ask very, good questions. And now I know more. You're at heart, you're an analyst. And you really look at things with a really broad lens, and you have a vision that you can round about and look at it from the operator sense, investor sense, all these different things. And so that explains why you always have the kind of questions you do, even about my business. So, but when it comes to about your experience so far as a trustee, how has it been? I know it hasn't been that long, but what have you enjoyed about being a trustee for the Vegas Chamber and Mary Beth?
Yeah, it's a great honor. It's only been a couple months, so I'm still very new in it, but I've absolutely loved every moment of it, and having an opportunity to sit with so many amazing leaders and get an inside look, and also those who are, what I think have been really impressed by, so patient with me to help me understand, because I'm looking at it and saying, okay, teach me everything. I'm just so curious. How does everything work? Where does this come from? Is this the right number? How does that compare? I'm just so obsessively curious and learning. And it's been a joy to see that folks are willing to teach, willing to share, and also provide that information and the opportunity to grow. And I think that's really unique, especially because Vegas Chamber is one of the strongest chambers nationwide. Mm-hmm. You can see that it's a world-class organization. Same way we talk about servant leadership, talk about an organization that embodies that every single day and delivers that high-class white glove experience, no matter who the member is, with such authenticity and care. And so it's been nothing short of a delight and a pleasure, and truly an inspiration to see that commitment to our community and how that results in just even everyday interactions.
That's really good. So it sounded like you're enjoying it so far. Do you have a goal in the next year or two in your role as a trustee, something that you already said, I want to accomplish this, whatever that is, learning more about it, but you've thought about, here's a goal of mine regarding my role as a trustee?
Yeah, it's a great question. There's a couple that I'm playing with right now. There's one that I'm going to say is a little bit more on the marketing, and I'm going to say the true business of the chamber side, where I'm a really big believer that the chamber has so much great content, has so much great knowledge to share. But the reality is, and this is something that I think I mentioned in the last meeting, a lot of us, especially small business owners, we don't have the ability to show up for a meeting. Mm-hmm. We can watch a webinar probably at 2:30 in the morning when we're finishing our QuickBook accounting, but we do not have the ability to just show up. And so being able to kind of create different digital products that would be more accessible to folks on their own time so they can still participate, still learn, is something that I'd love to be able to assist with and is a goal of mine to get across the line. And then the other piece as well is I'm really bullish on specifically AI within our market. I think there's a lot of opportunity for upskilling, workforce development, and I'm very inspired by the opportunities there. And so that is something that I'd love to be able to contribute towards in saying this is how we can help augment our already amazing group and team and workforce and these wonderful people in our community.
Wow. I'm jealous now that Mary Beth, you got this board member, because you're going to contribute so much. Lucky Mary Beth, she knows how to pick them.
Thank you. Hope
and
so.
the board, of course. Excited about your goal. And of course, I'll be there to support you in any way possible for that. Let's switch a little bit now to your personal life, because as you said, we as a business owner, I know you're very busy. Your time is very precious. But also, hopefully, it seems like you are, because again, you always seem happy. You're striking, again, a healthy balance between the work life. And a business owner, it's tremendously more difficult than somebody who just works for somebody else. So when you're not working, when you're not traveling, getting keys for a new place and attending even Vegas Chamber meetings and trying to help others get better, when you find that time that's just yours and your family, what hobbies, activities do you enjoy and brings you happiness?
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing that's kind of a fun fact about me is I love dancing. Something's always been a passion of mine. And so actually when I was in college, I joined the competitive salsa dancing team.
No way.
Yeah. And I became a choreographer and I was really excited about it. I joined an amateur team when I was in Chicago, and I've had the opportunity to pick it back up when I'm here in Vegas. And so that's something that's really special and important to me. And so I do a lot of lessons and I work with a lot of dancers and performers who are just so incredible. That's the nice thing about Vegas, is that you have them everywhere and they're so talented and energetic and they think about things so differently. And so learning from them and being able to connect through movement is something that's really special and unique. And it just gets my brain going too, because I'm constantly like, oh my goodness, how do I control my body this way? How do I position? And what do I need to do here? And so I love that. That's super fun. And then of course I do love pickleball just because I think it's a fun way to connect with people. I like being able to move as much as I can, but then recognize that because we're business owners, you don't have that much time to see all of your friends. And so what are the activities that you can do to pull other people in and make that part of it and use that time doubly as efficiently?
So you do have friends that pickleball with you?
I do.
Okay.
And I'm pretty good though about like, I'll just jump in and play with anybody for better or for worse. And I normally am the worst one there, but I'm always happy to do it.
Have you gone to that place, Chicken Pickle in Henderson?
No, I haven't gotten chicken and pickle yet. I'm out, I actually live right on the strip. So I'm always kind of on that side of town.
So you play outdoors?
Yeah, I play outdoors.
Yeah, I've seen mostly outdoors, but that place interests me, that indoor place with the chicken and stuff. And what about the salsa? You also have friends who salsa with you?
Yes.
That's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, one of my very good friends was my mentor at McKinsey, and he's also a professional trapeze artist here in town.
Oh, my goodness.
And so he also dances with me. So I always find that like a funny combination between the two of us, because he's the one that taught me financial modeling and sensitivity tables. So like in one day we're talking, Excel shortcuts, and the other he's like telling me my points off.
So if I say do you know the band Latin Breeze?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then so you know where they play at the M Resort every other Friday, the 7 Silvers here on Flamingo. So and how come I haven't seen you? Because sometimes I go there. Are you there at those places?
I typically go out to the handful of like open salsa studios that are here. So I'll go to VZ Dance Studios, Latin Rhythms where I did a lot of my lessons, and I love that community. And then I also go there because there's a handful of women that I know through the International Women's Forum who are actually really into it as well. And they're all at VZ. So I get an opportunity to see them twice.
So it's more the context of a daytime activity. It's not that nightlife, because you want to be resting by that time.
That, and I never know when I have to be at the restaurant. So always super important to me to be close. If something happens, if somebody's coming in, if there's a last minute, what am I doing to be on? Because for us, we are an interesting place where I've got folks that are packing and shipping boxes in the morning starting at 6 a.m. And then I also have folks that are coming in and welcoming guests, obviously, 4:30 until midnight, and then we're cleaning from midnight until 6 a.m.
Yeah.
So we have people on site 24/7 inside the restaurant. So if something happens, I need to be around. I need to be prepared. And we're a 7-day-a-week business, so it's really important to have that availability, especially at night.
Yeah, you can't be at a nightclub listening and dancing to Latin Breeze.
I cannot.
Yeah. The lead singer is Peruvian, which is where I'm from, Marco. So I'm going to send him this episode so he can see that he's famous with you too.
I love that.
So thank you for sharing that. I've learned a lot about you today. See? Wow. Tell us now, again, you have been very successful, and I can tell why now. You've really picked up a bunch of tools across your life so far, your professional journey, as you said, that are serving you really well in this role of business ownership.
Thank you.
And economic development, and now your role in the chamber. So if there's somebody out there that is, let's say a young adult, they're 16, 17, 18, and they want to be an entrepreneur one day, is there, I know there's many routes to the same, ending, but what advice would you give somebody who's that age and says, I also want to be like Amanda. I'm also, born and raised here. I also love dancing and love pickleball. So I relate to her, but I want her secret sauce. What is it that I can do? What are one or two things I can do to make sure that I have the chance at success and community impact that she has now?
I think my biggest piece is don't tolerate feedback, crave it. And I think that's really critical, because for me, I genuinely believe that every version of the person I show up each day is a draft. And it's just an opportunity to build and become better. And with that gives me a level of hunger where I'm truly craving a lot of input from everything around me. And it could be signals, it could be noise, it could be whatever it is, but there's always something to learn, even down to the smallest interaction where maybe something didn't go the way that I thought. What could I do to make that better? What could I do to learn? Even in some of the organizations that I'm a part of, people are aware now that I'm pretty, I'm going to call it fanatical about going up to somebody afterwards and be like, so what would you do differently? How else would you think about it? What would be another? It's really, really critical to have that craving, because when you're craving it, you're constantly looking out and you welcome it. And even if somebody gives you a piece of feedback that maybe is terrible or you don't agree with at all, then it's only told you something more about that person, which then helps you understand how to better interact with them. And so I think that's really important, and it keeps me very focused on just absorbing as much as I can. Mary Beth and I recently were chatting, and she's like, God, you're such a sponge. I'm like, yeah, you've got to be one. And I think that's really important because there are so many amazing people that you can learn from and around you and take advantage of if you're craving it. Not tolerating it, not like, oh, it'd be nice to know, or like, oh, I don't love hearing that. Craving it. Obsessively crave the feedback.
You know, again, I appreciate now what I see much more. And before we leave, I want to walk you to my office because on my wall there's something that says acta non verba, which in Latin is actions, not words. And when I watch you in movies, meetings, and even on Zoom, you are never, a meeting's going on, you're not here. I've always seen you here, like really paying attention. And now I understand why. You truly are craving that information, trying to be that sponge. So your actions do match your words. I just wanted to know, I guess.
That means a lot.
And so we get into the final piece of the podcast where we throw back the mic to you, and we'd love to hear if there's any big events, happenings, whether it be the Golden Steer or any organization you're involved with. What do you want our audience to know about? And we'll make sure we'll put the information on the screen for the YouTube viewers as well.
Yeah, so one big announcement we haven't made public until today, which I'm really excited about, is we've locked in a partnership with the Elvis Presley estate, which we're thrilled about. And so it's actually going to be multiple parts. One is with the restaurant. They've sent us 2 gold records from Elvis Presley's personal collection, which we're going to be installing inside the Golden Steer on his booth. We also are doing a limited edition product run, both on our iconic pins, which is what all of our servers have on their lapels. And then we're doing a seasoning that's inspired from one of his favorite recipes, Memphis ribs, and a rub on that for the summer. And so we're doing a handful of different partnerships with them. They're also giving us access to some of their content, and it's going to run all year. So we're really honored and frankly pretty inspired that they have that much trust and excitement for that. It's a really big deal for us and our team. And I can't wait to be able to bring that story inside the Golden Steer and adorn the walls that way. I think, we always talk about if the walls could talk, and now at least the walls can like show and display some of these pieces. And so that's really special.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now I feel you have an Elvis vibe going on. Yes.
We try.
With the black leather.
We got to embrace all the fun that comes with that. Yeah. As they told us, they're like, if you're not having fun with Elvis, you're doing it wrong. I'm like, okay, let's bring that in.
That is so cool. Thank you for sharing that news here on our podcast. It feels like we could have a second episode with you, probably more. So you're always welcome. Again, I appreciate that we're going to have a chance to work together at the Vegas Chamber as trustees. But also I think I want to explore with you how can we support as a workforce development pipeline, work with you on your initiatives there. Because I don't know exactly how difficult you and your team find it to, keep the talent you have, find the talent you need when you scale, again, in New York City or here. So look forward to collaborating with you in those aspects.
I look forward to learning from you on that. Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Amanda.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Well, that's it for another episode of the WC Podcast. We hope to see you at a future episode. Until then, stay safe. Thank you for staying over to do our bonus segment called Against the Wall. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. We're going to start with your favorite. So let's do an easy one. Your favorite dish at the Golden Steer.
Ooh, that was really hard. Bananas Foster flambe.
Your favorite beverage.
Old fashioned.
Your favorite dessert.
Oh, a new dessert we're doing, which is called the glass cake.
Ooh, I haven't had that one. I'm going to put that on my list. What's the last book you read?
The End of the World is Just the Beginning by Peter Zion on geopolitics.
Favorite movie of all time?
Oh, it's going to be a James Bond movie, probably Goldfinger.
Favorite music genre?
I love electric music. I love techno.
Wow. Favorite college sports team?
Ooh, okay. Let's go with, oh my goodness, I don't know if I've even seen any. Let's go with whoever the basketball team is for Georgetown.
Oh, okay. Georgetown, yes. Favorite professional sports team?
I will say Vegas Golden Knights.
Very good. You've made it through the first segment, Call Your Favorites. Now we're going to do tough choices. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So vacation or staycation?
Vacation.
Drive there or fly there?
Drive there.
Hotel or Airbnb?
Hotel.
When you retire one day, will it be here in the city or out in the rurals and the ranch?
It'll definitely be in a city.
In the city. If you could spend a day all by yourself, would it be a day by the ocean or hiking in the mountains?
Probably hiking.
If you were a superhero, would you rather have the ability to fly or breathe underwater?
Breathe underwater.
The ability to speak with animals or to speak any foreign language?
Animals.
Here's where it gets tough. Actions or words?
Actions.
Justice or grace?
Grace.
You've made it through tough choices. The last segment is called Finish the Sentence.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you 90%. You're going to finish it for me. If Amanda could visit any place in the world, it would be
Tokyo.
The best part of living here in Southern Nevada is
Their performances.
Amanda's favorite thing about her job or being an owner at the Golden Steer Steakhouse is
Their people.
If Amanda could travel back in time, she would travel to
That's a hard one. I'm going to say Cleopatra's age.
Wow.
Yeah.
3 words that describe Amanda are
Excited, curious, and let's go with relentless.
I couldn't agree more. And doing this WC podcast here with us today was
Energizing.
awesome. Well, thank you for staying over doing the bonus segment.
Thank you.